So, thinking about a career as a social work supervisor, we'll get ready to dive deep because we're going to uncover what this job really is beyond the surface level stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely not your typical 9 to 5.
Not even close, right? We're talking about serious challenges, but also huge triumphs for those who choose this path.
It really takes a special kind of person.
And thankfully, we've got some great info from RoleCatcher to help us break it all down. By the way, they have this awesome free platform if you're, exploring careers or prepping for interviews. We'll link to it in the show notes.
Definitely check it out.
But okay, let's get into what they have to say about social work supervisors.
Well, one thing that's really interesting is how much more there is to this role than just, managing cases.
Right, it's more than just paperwork.
Way more. Think about it. You're often a guiding light in situations that most people would find incredibly tough.
I can only imagine.
Try stepping into the shoes of someone investigating, like allegations of neglect or abuse.
Oof, that's heavy.
Right. Or conducting those really sensitive family assessments, providing emotional support to people battling mental health challenges. It's a lot.
That paints a way more intense picture than just the job title. And it makes it clear this isn't a role for just anyone. RoleCatcher actually uses the phrase emotional toll.
And it's real.
They talk about the exposure to trauma, the really distressing situations you encounter. So how do you navigate that as a supervisor? I mean, how do you prioritize your own well-being while carrying the weight of other people's struggles?
Honestly, self-care is essential. And having a really strong support system, it's not like you can just leave work at the office and forget about it.
Right, it's not that simple.
Not at all. You need those healthy coping mechanisms, a network to process all those heavy emotions with.
Because you need that resilience, not just for yourself, but to support the other social workers you're supervising too.
Exactly. It has this ripple effect. A compassionate and well-supported supervisor creates a more supportive environment for their whole team.
And ultimately, that leads to better outcomes for the clients they're serving.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's say you have the heart for this kind of work. What about the head? What skills does RoleCatcher highlight as being super important for succeeding as a social work supervisor?
Well, there are some really specific ones, actually. I mean, you've got your active listening and communication skills, which are, crucial in any social work setting.
Of course, those are a given.
Right. But then they get into things like social perceptiveness.
Social perceptiveness? What's that?
It's kind of like having a sixth sense for human behavior.
Okay, interesting.
It's being able to read between the lines, sensing when a child's withdrawal might be something more than just being shy.
I see.
Or recognizing when a parent's fatigue might be masking a deeper struggle. Those subtle cues can make all the difference.
So it's like emotional intelligence almost.
Exactly. You need that to connect with people on a deeper level, to build trust, to make those informed decisions that are truly in the best interest of your client.
And those decisions often require some serious critical thinking too, right?
All the time. You're constantly analyzing situations from different angles, weighing different perspectives, thinking about the consequences, good and bad. It's a lot of pressure.
Because your judgment has a real impact on people's lives.
Big time.
And on top of all that, there's the active listening part.
Oh, that's key.
These are people sharing their most personal, often really painful experiences.
Right.
So a social work supervisor has to create that safe space for them to really open up.
100%. And it's not just listening passively either. A good supervisor asks insightful questions, reflects back what they're hearing.
To make sure the person feels heard.
Yes, heard and validated.
It's interesting. RoleCatcher also mentions writing as a vital skill. I wouldn't think that's the first thing that comes to mind with social work.
Right, but we're not just talking about case notes here. We're talking about clear, concise writing for, everything.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, detailed reports, official court documents, even advocating for a client's needs. You might be writing letters to try and secure funding for a family, or documenting instances of abuse for legal proceedings.
Wow, I hadn't thought about it like that.
Yeah, you might even find yourself writing policy recommendations based on your experiences.
So it's about being a master communicator, in every sense of the word.
Exactly. You need that full toolkit.
And I imagine those skills become even more crucial as you move up in your career. Speaking of which, RoleCatcher maps out a pretty clear path from entry level to those senior positions.
They do, and it's actually really helpful to see.
They outline 3 main stages: social work assistant, social work case manager, then senior social work supervisor. It's interesting how the responsibilities seem to, evolve at each level.
Yeah, so as a social work assistant, you're getting that foundational experience, you're assisting with those investigations, providing direct support to clients.
Right, like learning the ropes,
You're like the eyes and ears on the ground.
building that essential foundation. Then as you move into the case manager role,
That's when you take on more responsibility.
so you start conducting your own investigations, developing those detailed intervention plans.
They're even supervising other social workers at that point. So it's a big step up. You go from being supervised to being the supervisor.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But you're also still helping clients directly, right?
You are. So it's this balancing act. You're guiding and mentoring other professionals, making sure they're providing that high quality care, but also still very much in the thick of it yourself.
Wow, okay. What does that final jump to senior social work supervisor look like?
At that level, you're operating more strategically. You're overseeing a whole team of social work professionals, developing policies and procedures, and advocating for big picture changes.
Wow. So it becomes about not just helping individuals, but impacting the whole system.
Exactly. It's really inspiring to see how those at the senior level can make a difference on like a micro A&D macro level. But
Yeah.
getting there, well, it's no walk in the park.
I bet.
RoleCatcher actually gives some sample interview questions for aspiring social work supervisors. And let me tell you,
Yeah.
they're tough.
I can imagine. They're not just, tell me about your strengths and weaknesses, are they?
No way. These questions really get to the core of what makes a great supervisor.
Okay, so they're not just assessing your knowledge and experience.
Right. They're digging into your values, your critical thinking abilities, how much empathy you have. They want to know how you would handle the really difficult situations.
Okay, give me an example. What's one of those tough questions?
Okay, how about this? How do you prioritize your workload and manage your time effectively?
Ooh, that's a good one. Because this job seems like it could easily become all-consuming.
It's true.
You're juggling multiple cases, each with its own complexities, deadlines, plus you're managing a team, making sure everyone's on track. How do you even answer that in an interview?
Well, I think you have to show them you've got a structured approach to your work.
Okay, so like what?
Highlight any systems you use, to-do lists, calendars, maybe project management tools, anything that helps you stay organized.
Right, but I feel like anyone could say they use a to-do list.
True.
So what could an applicant do to really knock their socks off with that question?
You have to go beyond the tools themselves.
Okay, so it's more about how you think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Show them you can think on your feet, that you can assess urgency. Because let's be real, in this job, tough decisions about prioritizing what needs immediate attention versus what can wait, those are going to come up all the time.
Every single day, I'm sure.
Right. And they want to know you can handle that pressure, that you're going to make sound judgments even when things get really, really hectic.
Makes sense. It's not just about being organized, but being adaptable.
Yeah.
Level-headed, even when everything's hitting the fan.
Exactly.
Okay, so what's another one of those interview curveballs RoleCatcher mentions?
All right, get this. Can you give an example of a successful project or program you have implemented in your role as a social worker?
Oh, wow. Okay,
It's a big one.
yeah, I can see why they'd ask that. But it's not just about listing projects, is it? It's about showing them you can actually make a difference.
Exactly. And it's your chance to really shine in that interview. Don't just describe the program. No. Highlight what you specifically contributed, the positive outcomes that happened because of your efforts.
Given the details.
Exactly. Did your project help clients get better outcomes? Did it make a process more efficient? Raise awareness about something important. Give them concrete, measurable stuff.
So it's all about impact.
Yes. Paint a picture for them. Help them feel the difference you made. Make them think, wow, this person is not just competent. They're passionate about making things better.
It's like you're telling a story.
Yes. Storytelling is huge. Bring that experience to life, the challenge, the solution, the positive change, all of it.
You're making me want to apply for a social work supervisor job myself, and I haven't even finished my coffee yet. Seriously, though, this is great stuff.
Well, before you polish up that resume, RoleCatcher points out something else really important about these interview questions. How they get at your values.
Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, give me an example. How do they do that?
Here's a really common one. How do you handle conflicts or disagreements, maybe with colleagues or other staff members?
Okay, so that's about more than just knowing how to resolve conflict, right?
Way more. They're looking at your interpersonal skills, how you have those tough conversations, whether you're committed to building a positive and productive environment. It all matters.
And being able to have those difficult conversations productively is so key in a field like social work.
For sure.
You're dealing with people facing really difficult stuff. Some friction is bound to happen.
Absolutely.
So when you answer that question, you're emphasizing your ability to listen to different perspectives.
Yes. Find common ground. Resolve things respectfully.
Show them you can handle the heat, but you're not going to sacrifice anyone's dignity in the process.
Exactly.
It's about being the calm in the storm, not avoiding conflict, but approaching it with that empathy and professionalism we were talking about earlier.
And always, always focused on solutions.
Right. It's about compromise, flexibility, that genuine willingness to see things from someone else's point of view, even when it's tough.
You got it.
This is honestly pure gold for anyone even thinking about this career. I mean, it's amazing how much goes into preparing for a role like this.
It's a lot.
It really highlights how being a social work supervisor is so much more than just a job.
It really is. It's a calling. It takes a special kind of person to do this work, to dedicate themselves to helping others, especially those facing those incredibly tough situations.
You're telling me. And speaking of the future, something's been on my mind this whole time. We're seeing artificial intelligence pop up everywhere these days, right?
Yeah.
So how do you think AI is going to impact the role of a social work supervisor moving forward? I mean, will it change their core responsibilities? Or is that human touch simply irreplaceable?
That is the question a lot of people are asking right now. And it's a really fascinating thing to consider.
Right. Because on the one hand, I can totally see AI taking over some of the more administrative stuff,
Oh, absolutely.
like scheduling appointments, managing case files, maybe even generating those reports you were talking about.
Totally. All of that could be streamlined with AI, which would free up social work supervisors to focus on other things.
Give them more time for what matters.
Right. More time for direct client interaction, team supervision, program development, the things that really need that human element.
It's not about replacing people.
No,
Yeah.
it's about giving them better tools to do what they do best.
I like that.
Like, imagine an AI system that can analyze case data and spot patterns, maybe even risk factors that a human might miss no matter how experienced they are.
That would be incredible. You can intervene earlier.
Yes.
Connect people with the resources they need faster.
Imagine what that could do. Maybe even prevent bad things from happening in the first place.
Whoa. It'd be like having a crystal ball to help predict and prevent problems.
Right. The potential of AI is really pretty amazing, but, and this is a big but,
Okay, I'm listening.
we have to acknowledge AI's limitations, especially in a field as complex and sensitive as social work.
Because as amazing as it can AI ever really replicate that human touch?
That's the question, isn't it?
The empathy, the intuition, that gut feeling that experienced social workers have, I'm not sure an algorithm can ever replace that.
It's true. AI can process tons of data. It can find patterns, maybe even carry on a conversation to an extent. But can it truly grasp how complex human emotions really are? The nuances of social interactions, all the ethical dilemmas social workers face on a daily basis, that's where I believe humans are irreplaceable.
It's not about AI versus humans, is it?
No.
It's about figuring out how they can work together, each playing to their strengths.
Now you're talking. AI as a tool to enhance and support the essential work social workers do, not to replace the human connection that's at the core of it all.
Right. Because even in this age of crazy advanced technology, it's still the human heart and mind that really drive change in this field.
100%. And we need to keep that front and center as we move forward.
Couldn't agree more. This entire deep dive has been so eye-opening. I feel like we just scratched the surface of what it really means to be a social work supervisor.
You just dipped our toes in.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's obviously incredibly challenging, no question.
For sure.
But it's also incredibly rewarding.
Absolutely. And as we were just talking about, with AI and everything changing so fast, this field is only going to become more and more important.
Which is why we need those dedicated, compassionate people stepping up.
Yes. People who are ready for the challenges, but also for the incredible rewards that come with being that guiding light for others.
Beautifully said. So, for anyone just starting their journey in social work,
Yes.
what advice would you give them to be ready for the future of this field? Because it's changing all the time.
That is such a good question, and honestly, I think it deserves a conversation all its own.
Yep.
So we're going to dive into that right after we take a quick message. Don't go anywhere.
All right, so we're back. We've talked about the heart of a social worker, the skills they need, even those tough interview questions.
Right, we've covered a lot of ground.
But how does someone actually future-proof themselves for a career like this?
That's the million-dollar question.
Especially knowing how much things are changing all the time.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone just starting out?
If I had to pick just one thing,
Okay, just one.
it would be this. Embrace lifelong learning.
Ooh, that's good advice for pretty much anyone, I think.
True. But especially in a field as dynamic as this one, you know?
Because it's constantly evolving.
Constantly. New knowledge, new technologies, new challenges facing society. It never stops.
So you can't just get that degree and then coast, right?
Yep.
You
Yeah,
have to keep learning, keep growing,
exactly. Going to those conferences, those workshops.
staying up to date.
Yes. Maybe even going back for more certifications as things change. You gotta stay hungry.
Intellectually hungry. I like that.
And don't limit yourself to just, social work stuff either.
Oh, what do you mean?
Branch out. Read about psychology, technology, public policy. All of those things intersect with social work in ways you might not expect.
It's like connecting the dots.
Yes. Seeing the bigger picture. And that brings me to my second piece of advice.
Okay, what's number two?
Be adaptable.
Ooh, that's a big one.
It is. Because as much as things change, we have to be open to those new ways of doing things.
Which can be tough,
It can.
especially in a field where you're often relying on established methods, tradition. But are you saying that embracing innovation is really key for the future of this work?
Absolutely. The challenges people are facing, they're just getting more and more complex,
Right.
more layered. So to really make a difference, social workers need to be creative.
Okay.
They have to think outside the box, be willing to adapt.
Because what worked yesterday might not work tomorrow.
Exactly. It's finding that balance.
Right.
Honoring the fundamental principles of social work, which are so important.
Of course.
But also being open to new perspectives, new approaches.
It's like a dance.
It really is. And that's where curiosity comes in.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to ask those questions, even challenge the status quo sometimes. Never stop searching for the most effective way to help your clients.
It's not even about just keeping up with the times, is it?
Nope.
It's about constantly pushing yourself to be better,
Yes.
to do better for the people who rely on you.
That's what it's all about. And to anyone out there listening who's thinking about a career in social work,
Yes,
your passion, your dedication, it means the world.
it does.
This work matters more than you know. And the future of this profession, it's in your hands. Don't ever forget that.
That is powerful, and that is the perfect note to end on. This has been such an incredible deep dive into the world of social work supervisors. I feel like I learned so much, and I hope our listeners did too.
Me too.
So to everyone listening, if you want to learn more, don't forget to check out the show notes for a link to RoleCatcher. Their free platform is amazing. Keep asking those great questions, stay curious, and keep diving deep. We'll catch you in the next episode.